16, dog, and I ain't talking about years, I'm talking about bars, I'm talking about tears. Let's head back. Who thought I'd be a star? I was a bad boy. Sleeping in cars like Craig Mack. 16, sticking up bars with no gap. Lead pipe in the towel. Ice real red, I'm wiping you out. Playing fail, still wiping the light. And say my name, bastard. I got the game, man.
When I was 16, I was messing around with leaking them. Holding guns with Zena.
I got any amount of money.
Lied at the mat.
Bar Exam episode 6. We're taking it to Philly, one of the most important regions in hip-hop history. Beanie Sigel, Freeway, state property soundtrack, and underrated soundtrack song Got Nowhere, produced by the legendary Kanye West. We're here to break down the bars and see how masterful not only this song was as far as production, but also the lyrics. By the time we reach 2002, Beanie Sigel is one of the best MCs in hip hop. He has his own clothing brand. He's releasing movies. He's just doing just about anything you can do on the highest level. Even at this point, battling Jada Kiss, battling the Locks, he's really locked in just from every aspect you could be as far as for hip hop. And on the run up to 2002, Beanie Sigel and Freeway would start to get that synergy that hip-hop duos are known for, kind of like Redman and Method Man, Raekwon and Ghostface. They really started to show that they had something special when both MCs got on the mic together. One thing that Beanie Sigel is known for is the hardcore music, but one thing he doesn't get enough credit for is his introspection and his consciousness that he brought to hip hop. It wasn't on every single song, but you would start to see his development over the years. You would start to see Beanie Sigel's growth from album to album, his maturity, not only as a man, but as an MC. And then if you go back to the Dynasty album on the song Where Have You Been, you get to see not only a different side of Jay-Z, but a different side of Beanie Sigel. And this would definitely transition into their music as time went on. The State Property movie had a soundtrack. Now, the State Property soundtrack is almost like the Dynasty album part 2, but instead of Jay-Z, now it's Beanie Sigel, and now it's his Philly crew with them. This is also 2002 Pink Polo Kanye West, meaning this is when Kanye West was chopping soul samples by the dozen. Kanye would use the sample from the Miracles' Nowhere to Go. He would create the perfect landscape for Beanie Sigel and Freeway. Now, this wasn't one of those two MCs spitting, having their best verses and saying, okay, this MC outdid this MC. This song was more of a vibe. It was more going towards not only what the sample was speaking to them, but also a time to reflect. So Beanie Sigel lays a foundation with, yo, I'm from a crack in the ground, a hole in a wall. Dog, when a crack ain't around, the smoker's a brawl. So he's basically saying like, damn, I grew up in not the best times. And also I grew up in a crack era. These next bars were key because now he's bringing a bullet reference with the hollow. And then he's also saying that the streets is like a hollow tip bullet. And it's like cancer. It's at some point going to swallow you up. Or just like cancer and just like a hollow tip bullet, it's going to literally tear up your inside. So it was another dope play on words. This next setup is a master class on MCing. This is showing why Beanie Sigel is an elite. Peep the setup. So here you have tests, rules, lessons, school. So that's a bridge. Then you got checkers and chess. So he's going to bring chess in at the end. So basically he's saying that every day this street life can test you. And not only that, the street life has rules, sort of like checkers and chess. Chess being more of a cerebral game than checkers. Then he says, I went to the school and took the lessons, punk. So he's basically saying, I went to the school of hard knocks and I graduated. I know what time it is. So now here comes the chess part. Know a pawn get king. So pawn, a chess piece, the lowest chess piece. But if a pawn gets to the opposite end of the chessboard, it becomes one of the strongest pieces that can then go back and do damage. If you relate that to Kennard and Omar in The Wire, Omar was the king. He was the most feared piece on the board. Kennard, a young kid, a pawn. What did the pawn do? The pawn basically got to the opposite end of the board, checkmated Omar. That's what that means. A bishop gets juice. So now we're bringing Tupac into it, because if you remember, Tupac was bishop. Bishop being another piece in chess, and then juice. And then now the final part, that kind of ties back into bishop, because if you look at a rook getting jumped, so basically a rook is like a rookie. So a rook getting beat up, getting jumped. So if you look at juice, if you look at bishop, before he got the gun, he was getting jumped. So you see how he tied all that together. This was a perfect delivery just within the first part of the song. So now Beanie Sigel is bringing back the harsh realities of not only drug use, but what it does to people in this environment. So he's basically saying people took the easy route. They either coked out, smoked out, doped out, or using heroin. They took the needle route. And he's basically saying, I'm not trying to do none of that. I'm even trying to stop smoking weed at this point. And then he's also, in this final part was dope too, because he said, no, the flip side, we choosing your way, like getting fat from losing the weight. So basically he's saying like all the stuff you gain from losing the weight meaning selling, drugs, right? So then he's saying, or losing that from using the weight. So he's saying that the flip side to that of somebody getting fat from slinging drugs and getting off the weight, he's saying the flip side is that user actually losing weight because they're doing so much drugs. And then he ends the bar, I'm feeling like I'm speeding and I'm about to crash, going nowhere, but I'm getting there fast. So then he brings back the hook and then ends off his verse. So the title of the song and the hook for this song will also be a major foundation, because the MCs will keep bridging off the hook, which then leads into what they're saying in their rhymes. So you'll see how Beanie Sigel says blind a lot, meaning he can't see, he doesn't know where he's going. So he's saying he's caught up in the system where the blind leads the blind. And then he's saying also that he brings in a dope Prince reference when he's saying, I pop pills in purple rain to escape my pain. They say I'm just like my father, bold and too cold. So he brings in the second Prince reference, if you remember the movie Purple Rain and all the drama that Prince went through with his father. And then you go back to the Jay-Z Dynasty album, where both him and Jay-Z talk about their fathers. So that's also a way to tie that in. And then the next verse is really like tying in his experience in jail. So when he's saying, but that's how a thug ride. I sent a kite through a dove. And this is just like the Prince reference as well. And in jail where the thugs cry, I feel your pain when you restrain and your love die, and make your heart hard and the blood in your vein fry. So he also brings in that prison experience, because if you remember the song on his first album, What's Your Life Like, that was one of the craziest songs to really listen to, because it just puts you right into a jail cell. So he's merging all these experiences, his upbringing, into the second verse. So this next verse, he's basically saying, so I'm trapped and I'm blindfolded, but my eyes wide open to see. So he's basically saying that he feels like he can't escape. He feels like he's blind. He doesn't know where to go. But at the same time, he can see everything as it's happening. And then he brings in the climbing those stairways to heaven, basically saying like, after all of this, I'm really hoping I get redemption, and then I can get to the next life in a better life. So that's where he brings in, look towards Allah, seeking direction. Still, I'm spinning in every direction, seeking direction. So he's saying like, I'm looking to a higher power. And he's basically saying, I'm just looking for anything to kind of get direction on how to get out of the situation. And then he says, I'm trying to balance out the good with the imperfections. You know, I still move with nowhere to go. So he's saying like, I'm still trying to get ahead, but I feel like there's really no exit. We know that Freeway only got one verse, but this verse was so crazy. It was so masterful in its own way. It definitely showed why Freeway is extremely underrated. So he also brings in, we grind from the bottom just to make it to the bottom. So he's also bringing back that same feeling of how Beanie Sigel set up his rhymes. This next bar was even crazier. So he was like, I see faces of the people that I shot when I get high late night. That's on some other shit. But damn, like just thinking about that is crazy. But this next setup is just really what brings everything together. So he says, I'm at my aunt's house. She just died, right? She got cancer from smoking and drinking. So if you kind of go back to what Beanie Sigel was saying, the streets can swallow you up. So even if you aren't in the street life, but you live in these areas, some just from being in these areas could cause you to take on other things like smoking and drinking. So that kind of ties just this whole song together. And then he's saying she just died from cancer, right? So that's just a long time of doing one thing, and your body just eventually gets cancer, right? So he's saying that that's the same shit I'm doing. I'm drinking and I'm smoking. I just seen her die. Not a lot of people think about that, because we always think when someone passes, they just, because they died. But he's basically internalized that I know why she died, because she was smoking and drinking, and I'm doing the same thing. These next bars was dope too, because he's saying, I can't lie, wish life would just open its handcuffs. So he's thinking life, he's just bringing back just like that mentality of he can't escape handcuffs. Like you can't escape handcuffs. So he's feeling like life is so harsh that it feels like he's trapped. And he's just wishing like, damn, just let me go. Cause now he's relating that back to prison. So he's saying like, damn, this life is so crazy. I feel like I'm doing a bid. So this next part is just icing on the cake. So he's basically saying like, I can't control my destiny either way. It's like, who cares if I'm a rapper? I can't escape the wrath of Allah. He's like, I can crash up my car. I can get shot. Some dude mastered how to shoot people. I got shot in the face. And then he said, I can even go triple platinum, become a household name. And after I fly from doing shows, the plane can crash. The last thing you hear is Mayday, Mayday, we about to go down. How the hell can life end like this? Nowhere to go. This song is it just shows that even being what people would call street rappers, a lot of MCs that did street music, they also had, if it wasn't just one song, maybe two songs on their albums that really balanced the song, because it would be more of a conscious song. This song would really balance off the State Property soundtrack, because it would bring that soul, it would bring that essence. And ultimately, this is poetry. I mean, if you really break down these lyrics, They're very detailed. They're very full of life and just full of like emotion. And then I feel like just with that beat, like this is just a way for almost like therapy when MCs can go into the booth and just show another side of not only who they are as people. I think Beanie Siegel was just very great at doing that and bringing that side to Rocafella. And like I said, this is definitely a dope track to really just listen to and just kind of feel it